folks, it's the end of 3 days right now, time to wrap up the conference, and to do that, we're joined by Perry Kinkaide. You're the chair of this event. We talked to you at the beginning, and it's time to get your impressions now on how this event went. It's the first ever of its kind here in our province. Your thoughts?
I think it says it all. I mean, you don't get one of these if you if you've been part of a failure. But
fair enough.
I think it went very well. It met certainly the expectations of the organizing committee, and I think it exceeded the expectations of many of the people that attended, whether they were from India or Israel or the United States or across Canada. In particular, I think people from this province felt we've done something original, and I think we will see that we will be on a roll through the rest of the year. This just was not a one-time only.
Okay, so what's the goal now? You've had all these people come in and talk to a number of attendees from various different industries. What do you do now with the information you got and the discussions that took place?
Well, there's two dimensions. One of them was obviously a constituency has been built. I think that those that attended this event felt it was significant enough that they'd like to continue to relate not just to the event, to one another. And that network I would call a constituency or a special interest group, and we'll try and continue to support it so that they can continue to stay in touch with one another. Without trust, there will be no business. And I think this network, now they know one another, they trust one another, they'll do business. I think on the other front was the number of resolutions that were derived, and they're not certainly by any means fine-tuned and final, have been passed on to the hosts, and I think you've got three very responsible hosts that feel a certain responsibility to those who attended the event. And they'll work to either form working groups, edit the resolutions, and see that we can in fact advance the development of an analytics industry in Alberta.
And when you're talking about the host, you're talking about ABC Tech, the University of Lethbridge, and the Business School at the University of Alberta?
Well, I think we'll give the University of Athabasca, or give Athabasca University credit,
yes.
but I like the University of Lethbridge as well, so that's a free. You graduated from the university?
No, I did not actually, at U of A.
Okay.
But yeah, that's right, Athabasca University.
That's fine.
So tell us a little bit about the resolutions that were passed.
I don't have them right at my fingertips.
They're right here.
Oh, okay.
There you go. I take
Thank
notes.
you.
Can you read them?
Well, I've got a pretty good idea what they were. I mean,
Okay.
they are, if I take it from the top down, I mean, it's clear that we've got some chaos. The intent of the conference was to show how diverse the application of analytics is today and envisioned for tomorrow. Not just in terms of industry sectors, but the array of things that are going on within analytics itself. And the issues that it's generated, from the resolution of policies of privacy, which are in the resolutions.
Can I interrupt for just a quick sec? You say we've got chaos. Do we have, because when I hear chaos, I think that everything's in a mess. Is that it, or is it just we don't know what direction to go in?
I think the chaos is in two forms. One, you cannot look at time, because right now so much is happening on so many fronts so fast that you can't look at a clock and say things will occur in sequence, therefore I know how to manage. You've got to be very nimble right now. The technology is changing rapidly. The opportunities are extraordinary. If you just look at what's happening with Facebook and Twitter and just internet itself, the market of analytics, and that is the thirst for data and how to aid in decision making or automate decision making, is chaotic. It's happening so fast on so many fronts that organizations that look for order and structure are at a disadvantage. This is a period of extraordinary opportunity or threat. And if you're nimble and you've got a relatively flat structure, you can take advantage of it. If you're rigid and beholden to a lot of the past, particularly if you had an advantage in knowledge and now knowledge is becoming a commodity or moving quickly, you may find yourself at a disadvantage. So the resolutions also talk about the establishment of a center for advancing the commercialization of analytics applications. One of the discussion points was, do you focus that on a particular mission? Do you zero in on some aspect of government services, or do you zero in on the oil and gas industry? Or do you take some particular dimension that relates to marketing and retail? And I think if you're going to develop a center for the advancement of analytics applications, as we heard from the lady from Israel, having a mission is much wiser than simply letting chaos reign and then figuring it out later.
Well, the interesting thing with that mission too was they came up with a seed that was able to do things that other seeds had not before with tomatoes, but they also managed to keep the work in their country.
Well,
They exported the technology, but still...
They did two things. They articulated a problem that they were going to resolve, and that's what I meant by a mission. You can be all things to all people and declare we've got a great center because it's serving everyone, or you can make a declaration that there is a very specific problem that we would like to address and we will solve it. And I think that was the magic of the lady from Israel, is they had a problem, they had a mission to resolve it, and they did in fact, and they generated a wealth for Israel at the same time. It doesn't mean that they weren't prepared to establish partnerships, because that's one of the byproducts. My note to Mikkel Levy and to Yosemink is we would like to have some ongoing discussions about addressing some of the issues of reclamation in Alberta. We're heavy into open mining. Natural grasses don't necessarily survive. What can we learn about the propagation of natural grasses in Alberta so we can be certain that our forests and our natural grasses, when we reclaim, will survive? They've got technology we might be able to work with.
Right.
Other resolutions related to manpower. There's a concern that if data is the new gold, if in data are questions or answers to be resolved, who handles that data? Who will be respectful of the issues of privacy? And so there were discussions around the leadership in manpower development. There was a discussion of the need for leadership, a continuing role for universities, government, industry to work together in the development of the industry. So I think they were sound, they were solid, they constitute the steady legs of a table, but they will require leadership, and therein lies one of the challenges. As I was standing there at the microphone and looking at the audience and having this handful of resolutions that were wise and well thought through, so who do I hand them to? And therein lies the responsibility of the hosts who put this together to say that Athabasca University and the School of Business and ABC Tech, you put this thing together, fellows, now it's your responsibility to take them forward, and that's their challenge.
Because it can't be just left with the delegates and the people who were here. It's got to spread wider than that.
I think for integrity, if you're going to put on a party and you're going to have a show and you're going to make some proclamations, I think you've got a responsibility to take seriously that this was not just a party, that we came out of this with a constituency, with a viewpoint that should be respected, and that's integrity. So we're not just taking your money and going home. We're taking your thoughts, but we're going to engage you from now on. And I think that's where the idea of a special interest group that's now been formulated, not to work in isolation, but to work closely with the ICT industry, which this could never have been built without. If we can keep them working together, I think we've really got something unique for Alberta.
One of the speakers had a chance to mention that Alberta's thought of obviously as an oil and gas based economy. How do we get people thinking of us as, big data and analytics? How do we work that into everything?
I think you've got to get that constituency for starters, otherwise it's just an idea. And the point I made over and over again was, a good idea is worthless without relationships and worthless without some form of constituency. We live in a democracy where government is not to lead, but where government will look for constituencies that wish we might go someplace else or do things differently. And I think the theme of ABC Tech has been diversifying Alberta's economy through technology, and the technology in this instance is the magic of analytics. It can be moved at the speed of light, it can be moved globally. We don't need rail, and we don't need air, and we don't need transport. We've got the infrastructure to be part of a global economy, and we can be small and still have impact.
That last comment you had was on the back here. I was going to ask you about that, the knowledge without relationships and the impact of that. Tell me, we've done a lot of interviews over the last 3 days, talking with people from all over the world about what analytics means to them, and big cloud, big data and cloud as well. What happens with these interviews now? What do you hope to do with them?
I think the interviews are gold in themselves. I mean, if I didn't sit in on all of the sessions, I was more walking the rooms to get a feel for whether people felt they were having a positive experience and learning and getting engaged. From what I heard from them, the quality of what went on in the rooms and the quality of the keynotes themselves isn't going to get lost. I mean, I believe that ABC Tech at the website of abctech.com or .ca will post them. We will be asking the various presenters for their PowerPoints and posting them as well. That's what we do. We will archive this, keep it alive. I will want to meet with the organizing committee to determine if they now want to go home, go to sleep, or will they want to themselves keep on going. And I believe they will. We've got the bestofanalytics.com website that we need to integrate. So we now have asset. When we started this out, we had an idea. And as a byproduct of the organizing committee and the pioneers in this event, that idea now has given birth to a whole series of insights that we'd like to share.
Mm-hmm. And you had a chance to with this conference because we broadcast, live streamed the speakers and our interviews to about 36 countries.
And who are you?
I'm Rob Hislop.
But aren't you Fuse Logic as well?
But that's just it. I mean, it had a chance to go around the world. We were picked up in Australia, Uruguay, you know, as you mentioned, I think earlier, Oslo, Norway as well. So this is spreading.
When you do an event like this, there are several byproducts that I'm well aware occur, and this one was clearly, we now have Fuse Logic, we've got WorldGate Media, we have Troy Media, we've got online publishing, we have Amplo Media, we have a whole communications team that can be drawn on for the next event, that this was a dress rehearsal. You think this was good, wait till you see what we have in mind for next year.
Can't wait. Thank you very much,
Thank
Perry.
you.
Again, this was brought to you by University of Alberta's Business School, by ABC Tech, and of course we cannot forget Athabasca University.
Thank you very much.
We can't forget it more than once anyway.
Great.
We'll leave it at that. And of course, you know, as we mentioned, you will likely get a chance to see this again down the road sometime at abctech.ca.
Beautiful.
So look forward to that. I'm your host, Rob Hislop, for Fuse Logic TV.